So you went and bought yourself a shiny new Amiga 1200 and a copy of Monkey Island 2. But with its 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 discs, playing games like this can get quite annoying. So you've decided then it's time to fit a hard drive to your Amiga. But what is the best option? Should you go for a CF card, an SD card, or even just an old IDE drive? So this week on CRG, what we're going to do is test all three of these to see which one gives the best performance on a stock Amiga 1200 using a simple memory expansion. This one is 4 megabytes, and using an 030 accelerator. We're going to test the two different SCSI devices, as in 43.45 and 44.20. And while we're at it, let's also test the performance on our CD32 with its TF330. I've shown how to set up these drives for the Amiga a few times now on the channel, so we'll just gloss over it very quickly today, starting with the CF card. Right, this is the basic OS 3.1 install we're going to be working with. And we're going to use sysspeed and sysinfo for a bit of benchmarking. Okay, that's the CF card ready. I'll do the SD card, the IDE drive, then it's time to test. That's our three drives set up now. So let's test, starting with the CF card in the stock 1200. I've just laid this caddy in here just to give these something to rest on while we're testing this, and we're using a relatively short 44 pin IDE cable. Now, probably worth noting that sysspeed here will not work on the stock 1200. It needs a wee bit of fast RAM to carry out its hard drive test. So just for the stock machine, we are going to have to rely only on sysinfo. So there we are getting 1.054 megabytes a second, roughly. What I will do is run the speed test 3 times, then we'll take an average of that to get a result. So I'm going to test this CF card and these other two devices here using SCSI.device 43.45 and 44.20. Then we'll be back to take a look at the results. So I have just switched over to SCSI.device 44.20 here on this CF card, and notice that my other two partitions now are not showing up. After setting this up, I actually just went ahead and created another 2 large partitions. This one's about 7 gig or so, and that one's just whatever's left, 8 gig or whatever, to fill up that card. But if I even try and format this now, just tells me the object is too large. So, SCSI.device 44.20 does not seem to support any partitions greater than 4 gig in size. Worth bearing that in mind. But its drive speed is noticeably quicker. On with the testing. Okay, the results are in, and here we are. Running under sysinfo with SCSI device 4345, you can see that the CF card and SD card both get an average of 1.06 megabytes a second, and the IDE drive pulls ahead quite a bit, almost 50% faster, 1.5 megabytes a second. Changing out the SCSI device 44.20 also improves the results, as you can see, 1.24, 1.25 between the CF and the SD card, and that IDE drive again is faster, this time getting a rather impressive 1.89 megabytes a second. Now, it is worth bearing in mind that this SCSI device 4420 does seem to have that 4 gigabyte partition limit. So if you're using like a 40 gig drive, like I am here as this IDE drive, I think 10 partitions would be a bit annoying. Right, let's get that 4 megabyte memory expansion into the 1200. Let's run all these tests again. This time we'll be able to run the sys speed test also, and let's see how that affects the results. Let's get this memory expansion fitted. Wonder, can I just slide it in here from the top rather than having to remove this trapdoor? Yeah, seems to hopefully go in. There we are. This expansion is a wee bit hit and miss sometimes, so hopefully it works. Our CF card is back to SCSI device 4345. Yeah, it's not booting. I need to fiddle with this for a minute. There she goes now. I don't know what the story is with this memory expansion. Once the machine is booted up like this, and you can see it's added the fast memory and all, it's perfectly stable. Has never missed a beat. No idea. Anyway, let's see how this affects the drive speed. So last time without this we were getting, what was it, about 1.06. Now we're up to 1.25. So that is a bit of a noticeable improvement in speed. Right, I'll do the same again. We'll run all the tests 3 times. Then we'll take the average of that and we'll take a look at it on the computer. In fact, just let me show you quickly. We can now run the sys speed test. So if we go in here and into drive, this gives us quite a bit more information. So we're going to be looking at the create file speed, the write file speed, and the read file speed. As I say, I'll run all these tests, then we'll take a look at the results. So the results are in, and as you can see, across the board, using the 4 meg memory expansion, our averages are up. SCSI device 4420 still pulls ahead of 4543, and the IDE is now getting over 2 megabytes a second. Now if we were only relying on sysinfo, you could be mistaken into thinking that the SD card is starting to pull ahead of the CF card, albeit they are more or less the same result, just slightly higher. But if we take a look at the results from SysSpeed, you can see that the SD create file and write file actually lags behind that of the CF card. The read file is slightly faster, but creating and writing files is slower, and that's the same for both 4345 and 4420. IDE, using both SCSI devices, manages to stay ahead of the CF and the SD cards. Next thing to do then is to get our 030 accelerator in there and see how that affects these results. This is our 40 MHz 030 accelerator, the ACA 1233N. Full 030, clocked at 40 MHz and 128 meg of RAM. So sysinfo drive speed with the CF card has now improved to 1.95. And SysSpeed likewise is seeing a bit of a boost in performance. Same as last time, we'll run all these tests 3 times with the SD card, CF card and the IDE drive. Then we'll take a look at it on the computer. And here's our results then using the 030 accelerator. We can see straight away that our averages are well up compared to what we had last time. But the difference now between 4345 and 4420 is not as great. 4420 does remain faster though. CF and SD cards still look very similar under sysinfo, but if we look down at SysSpeed, you can more clearly see now how the SD card, with its create file and write file results, is starting to fall behind that of the CF card. And that's the same with both 4345 and 4420. In fact, with 4420, that difference is maybe slightly greater. SD card create file is only 1.39, write file is only 1.48, compared to the CF card getting 1.65 and 1.75. Across the board though, IDE still dominates in its performance. Right, only one last thing to do. Let's get out the CD32 and see how it performs with its TF330. Time to put the Wii console through its paces. I have the lid loosened, so we can just get straight into it. So just to make sure this is as accurate as possible, I'll just remove this CF adapter. I don't see that making any difference whatsoever, but you know, whatever. And we'll use the one we have been using with this 16 gig CF card. It's only throwing us this error because it's expecting an Amiga 1200 and it's expecting a floppy drive. We can just cancel that. Right, with the 40 MHz 030 and the 1200, sysinfo was giving us 1.95 megabytes a second using SCSI device 4345. How is the CD32 going to compare to that? Well, we sort of already knew it was going to be considerably faster. When I up at just over 3.8 megabytes a second. And then if we take a quick look at SysSpeed, Likewise, the results are well above what we were seeing on the 1200. Okay, so same as last time, we'll test the CF card. We'll test the SD card and the IDE drive. All the tests will be run 3 times each. Then we'll take a look at it on the computer and compare the results. So here we are, results for the CD32, and it is quite impressive. Our CF card and SD card speeds are pretty much double that we were seeing on the 1200. Our IDE drive speed under SCSI device 4345 is about 2.5 times faster, but under SCSI device 4420 it's over 3 times faster, just bordering on 9 megabytes a second. In fact, you can see here the second test did just get over that 9 megabytes a second. Under the sys speed results then, we can actually start to see more clearly now just how far behind the SD card is lagging with its create file and write file speed compared to the CF card. And overall, as we would expect by now, the IDE drive is performing considerably faster than the CF and SD card. Even more so, under SCSI device 4420, our write file and read file results are over 9 megabytes a second. Interesting though that the create file just lags behind that wee bit. Still, what, twice the speed of CF card and SD card? Well, more or less anyway. It's just a shame that this SCSI device 4420 does not seem to support partitions over 4 gig in size. So just before we finish up with this, there's one other thing I would like to show you very quickly. This is the CF card that we have been using to run these benchmarks. I just got this last week, brand new from Amazon. This is a SanDisk Ultra 16 gigabyte 50 megabyte per second compact flash card. Now, the CF card I had been using in my CD32 was this one. SanDisk Ultra 2 compact flash 15 megabytes a second and 8 gigabytes. Probably worth noting that 8 gig seems to be the biggest variant of the Ultra 2 CF card that you can get. Now, this one is only rated 15 megabytes a second compared to the 50 megabytes a second of this one. But in our CD32, this one performs almost identically to the IDE drive. Just let me show you that quickly. Now, I only have sysinfo on this, and it is running the SCSI device 44.20. But if we take a look at our drive speed, you can see that it's flying along very nearly 8 megabytes a second. There we are. Click the button long enough, I knew it was bound to jump over. Just over 8 megabytes per second. Very close to the performance we were getting out of this. Certainly a lot better than the performance we're getting out of this compact flash card. So in conclusion then, which one of these would I recommend? Probably the real IDE drive. Yes, I know they don't make these anymore. I know it has moving mechanical parts in here that will probably fail at some point in the future. But in terms of performance, it was definitely the fastest. In terms of price, I think this 40 gig drive cost me around £5 on eBay. The 16 gig compact flash card was about £16. and the 16 gig SD card with the wee adapter. Well, I think it was around a tenner. Cheapest, fastest. This is the one you want. Now, of course, if you don't have space for that in the likes of the CD32, then, well, compact flash is the way to go. Yes, it is the most expensive option, but second fastest. And if you could find that SanDisk Ultra 2 card that I currently have in here, the speeds do get very close to what you're achieving on this. That card isn't made anymore, so you'd have to look for it second hand. This card is their current offering, and as we've seen, it's coming in what, about half the speed of the IDE drive. Definitely not fan of these SD cards. See, the thing about compact flash is it's actually an IDE device. These adapters here are essentially just straight through from the compact flash pins to the IDE header. The SD card is most definitely not an IDE device and needs all this logic behind it to do the conversion. And that's why I think we've seen the slight performance drop when using the SD card. So you might ask yourself, what's the point of all this really? An Amiga floppy disk is only what, around 700k, and even our slowest transfer rate was getting over 1 megabyte a second. You can transfer a full Amiga floppy disk in less than 1 second on hard drive. Games are going to load instantly. And if that's all you're doing, if all you're doing is playing WHD load, doesn't really matter. Just pick up whatever one of these is handiest. If though you want to be running stuff like AGA Blaster, this is a CD XL video player, you're going to want to get that drive transfer speed as high as possible, certainly at least 5 to 6 megabytes a second, to be able to play back video at 25 frames per second. This is the Rift demo. This is an 060 demo. I most definitely do not have an 060 in my CD32, but we're playing it here as a video instead. And as you can see, playback is nice and smooth. I am going to do a video shortly taking a closer look at AGA Blaster, some of its features, some of the things you can do with it. It is pretty cool, so make sure to look out for that. That's it for this time though. Definitely the one to get. If you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Any comments, please leave them below. Why not hit subscribe so you don't miss any of my future stuff. And I'll see you next time.